Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Charla Football. I'm your host, as always, Gerardo, and we had an active UEFA Champions League weekday three, match day three, whatever you want to call it. But it was active. We had goals from Tuesday to Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, and bro, I mean, impeccable games. Honestly, Madrid, Dortmund. A recap of the final. We had Villa staying at the top of the table. They're leading the Champions League. Who would have thought? Um, Barcelona versus Bayern Munich, Atleti versus Lille, and there was a shock there. Man City just running riot, Feyenoord finding their feet again. I mean, so many storylines that we have to cover. Obviously, I'm going to cover the biggest ones. I'm not going to be able to get through every single match. But before we get into it, make sure you guys follow, subscribe, and check out all the links down below. But yeah, I mean, let's start with the biggest game of all, probably the current champions Real Madrid versus Borussia Dortmund, the runners up, a rematch of the final that just happened. The match that I was actually at. I mean, if you guys can see that scarf right there, because I was there, I was at that game, and in that game, it was a comfortable win for Real Madrid. And I mean, I would say it was similar in this situation, but only in the second half. This is probably the best 45 minutes I've seen from Real Madrid all season, given that they have a lot of injuries and Mbappe is trying to slot himself somewhere in the team. And even though he has 6 goals in La Liga, it's just there's things that aren't clicking. And the first half specifically showed with Borussia Dortmund up 2-0 in the span of like 5 minutes. Ian Mullen got on the score sheet. Jamie Giddens, also the English Dortmund player, only 20 years old. I believe he got on the score sheet as well. And yeah, everything looked like unicorns and rainbows, and everything was sunshine for Dortmund up in that first half, right? And they were outplaying Real Madrid. And I mean, Real Madrid had some moments where they tried to react, but really couldn't. But the biggest problem is that when you play against a team like Real Madrid, you cannot just sit back and absorb pressure, because when you're coming up against world class players like Vinicius, like Mbappe, like Modric, Valverde, Chouameni, Camavinga, you just cannot let them have the ball. You cannot let them be comfortable. And after the 55th minute, this is the biggest mistake that Sahin made. And I mean, understandable that he's a young manager, it's his first season at the club, and I mean, he has no experience at all, especially when you have to play against Real Madrid. I mean, I know it's going to be difficult, but I mean, this is like exactly what happened with Bayern Munich last season, and they committed the same mistake. They took off one of their best attackers in Gittins at the 55th minute and brought in the defender, and then they put Emery Chan at right back for whatever reason, and everything just fell apart for Dortmund. Vinicius put one, two, three past Dortmund, and it was game over. Game over. Lucas Vasquez got the third goal to really cement that the comeback, and then Vinicius scored the final two to just really, if they weren't dead, to really make sure that they were 6 feet underground. And Dortmund, they just made themselves look like a joke once again. And it's like when they have to play in front of the world, when they have to play when everyone's paying attention to them, they just seem to freeze up. Because last year, same shit happened where they were the underdog. I mean, maybe some people were taking them serious, some people weren't. And when they get to the final, they just shit the bed. They shit their pants. And same shit happened again where they're up 2-0. They have everything in their favor, and they just shit themselves. They let it all go. And I mean, all that hard work, those 2 goals, the beauty of that first half that they performed, it just went out the door. And Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu, we already know they are the comeback kings in the Champions League at the Bernabeu. Like, this is their competition. And Vinicius, I mean, what else can you say about this man? He is he is going to be the Ballon d'Oro winner. And I was one that said that I felt like Rodri should be it, only because of Vinicius's performances with the Brazil shirt. I mean, he really did nothing at the Copa America, but I mean, we can see that at club level, he's just a different beast. Brazil overall, they haven't been performing. They barely got a result in the recent international window. But when it comes to when he wears that white shirt, when he's in the Champions League, when he's donning the Real Madrid kit, he is that guy. When he's in the Champions League, he is that guy. Vinicius by far has to be the Ballon d'Oro winner. I can't see anybody else besides Vinicius winning this. No Rodri, no Bellingham, Vinicius. The 3 goals that he scored were pure class. That last one especially just shows why he should be winning it. Taking on from his own half, taking on basically all of Dortmund, and then just putting a perfect curler into the far corner where the goalkeeper couldn't do nothing. And yeah, I mean that's Real Madrid for you. They come even when everything seems like it's wrapped up for them. They will come back from the dead just like the Undertaker. And yeah, it was pretty much over for Dortmund. You got to feel bad. You have to feel bad for them. Um, Now going on to PSG versus PSV, this was a difficult game to watch, given that PSG had so many opportunities to make the game more interesting, make the game 3-1, 4-1, maybe 4-0, maybe in the first half. But I think the biggest talking point here is Dembele. The consistency in being so inconsistent in front of goal is just insane to me. He had at least like 2, 3 opportunities. He could have scored a hat trick, really, if he wanted to. He missed in front of goal, hitting the crossbar. Joao Neves put a perfect ball into him to have him 1v1 with the goalkeeper. Wasn't enough either. He just skies it over the bar. And I think it was PSV that take the lead. Yeah, in the first half, Noah Lang cuts in front of Marquinhos, puts it at Donnarumma's first post. Donnarumma's just caught off guard. He could not reach it. And PSV were holding on to that lead for dear life. But PSG, they were keeping up that pressure. They were very strong from the second half, and it took Hakimi taking responsibility. Being the captain that he is, even though he's not captain for PSG, but he's been there, done that. He's been in international football. He's been at club football doing. He's done so much, especially for PSG as well. He took that responsibility. He struck it from about like 20, 30 yards out, and obviously, there was a little bit of luck. A stroke of luck is exactly what you need in football. But PSG tied the game right there. Hakimi, unfortunately, making the goalkeeper look bad. It was a thunderbolt through the legs of the goalkeeper. I think Walter Benitez, who was playing his 100th match for PSV. So you got to feel bad for the guy. Should have done a lot better in that chance, but it is what it is. When you're coming against a team like PSG, they're gonna at least score one. So you will have to take your opportunities if you're PSV, and you also have to be a lot more defensively solid at the back. And then yeah, game ended 1-1 right there. Juventus versus Stuttgart. I thought this was going to be a game that was going to be full of goals, but boy, was I fucking wrong. But there was a surprise. Stuttgart get their win in the Champions League within their first meeting ever between Juventus and Stuttgart. Juventus were going into this with a big head. They have won their last 5 matches against German clubs. They are yet to lose under Thiago Motta this season. Stuttgart, who just lost, I think, 4-0, 5-0 against Bayern Munich at the weekend. They've gone 5 matches without a win. And I mean, the thing with Stuttgart is that they play well, but they're just also just inconsistent up front. Dennis Undav is really the only guy that up front he's lethal. He did get a goal. I think it was ruled offside. I think there was also a penalty that was saved by the goalkeeper Perin, and you would think that okay, Juve are saved, and Stuttgart just weren't taking their opportunities, but that really wasn't the case. Stuttgart were relentless, and it wasn't until Juve just couldn't really hold on with only 10 men because there was a red card for Danilo in that penalty call. El Bilal Touré, Stuttgart break Juve's defense and break Juve's undefeated run, and Stuttgart finally get their first win in 5 games. So everything's good in Stuttgart land right now. A big surprise given that Juventus were doing well in the Champions League and doing well in the league. So suffering their first loss on Thiago Motta. I mean, keep in mind, Juventus haven't been brilliant. They haven't been the best team in the world either. But compared to what we've seen in seasons prior, this was a good start for Juventus. And now to suffer this loss against the Stuttgart team, who really aren't doing that well either. I mean, it's going to be a big blow for Juventus. We'll see how Stuttgart can come back. And now the biggest surprise of them all right now, I think Aston Villa, who are performing beautifully under Unai Emery, getting a consistent 2-0 win against Bologna. They sit at the top of the UEFA Champions League table, 3 out of 3 wins. Obviously, the most memorable one being against Bayern Munich, 1-0. And really not much going on in this first half, but it wasn't until the second half. John McGinn, who I think finally made an appearance from the start in the Champions League, off of a set piece, just one of those balls that he curls in and no one, I mean, you expect someone to get a touch on it. The goalkeeper's waiting for someone to get a touch on it. No one gets a touch on it. It just finds itself kind of creeping into the back of the goal. And, that's the way they got their first goal. It was a horrible way for Bologna to concede because they were doing well defensively. But Aston Villa, they just have too much quality. I mean, all they're from front to back. They have an impeccable amount of quality in their squad. And then, of course, John Duran, who started, I think, in the international break for Chile. He got a goal against Chile in that 4-0 win for Colombia. He finally gets his start, deserving, obviously, because Ollie Watkins, he's performing well too. And he was one of the best players last year, one of the top goal scorers in the Premier League last year. John Duran, he's been asking to be coming on at 20 years old. I mean, he deserves at least some opportunities from the start, and he didn't disappoint in the play. Literally a few minutes before his substitution, a typical striker's goal, gets in front of his defender across from, I'm not exactly sure who, but across that he just gets in front of. Just he has that scent of goal when he's in front of goal. I mean, he doesn't really think twice about things. He just gets in front of his defender, flicks it, gets that second goal. And Villa, they are perfect in the Champions League. He gets his seventh goal of the season in only 400 minutes. I mean, that's fucking insane, to be honest. Only 400 minutes of play to have 7 goals is a very good stat for a 20-year-old. So Villa, they're doing well right now. Not much you can say there. Staying with another Premier League club. Let's go to Arsenal versus Shakhtar Donetsk. And Arsenal 1-0. Really not much to talk about in this game. No red card, luckily for Arsenal. They weren't screwed by the Premier League refs in this game, although I mean, I feel like they could have probably gotten at least three goals if they probably should have at least gotten 2 or 3 goals. But I mean, it was a while. 2015 was the last time Arsenal lost in the group league stage in the UEFA Champions League since their game against Olympiacos. So it's been some time since they lost in this group stage, if you want to call it that. Now it's like the league phase. It was Martinelli who took the shot that created the goal, basically, and it ricochets off of the goalkeeper. A little unlucky if you're, I think his name is Riznik. A little unlucky for Riznik and the Shakhtar Donetsk team because they were doing well, at least at the start of the game. But I mean, just that one goal is all they needed, and that was pretty much it for the whole match. There was a penalty call later on in the match in the 75th minute that Trossard just could not convert Riznik, although he was the own goal scorer in this match. He was able to keep out at least the second one, kind of keeping Shakhtar in the game, but really, I mean, it wasn't enough for Shakhtar. They don't have enough quality like Arsenal do, and yeah, Arsenal get 3 points that are going to be very big for them moving into this important weekend. Now let's look at today. Now these are all games that are fresh in my mind. With the very early games, Brest versus Bayer Leverkusen in a 1-1 draw. This game I was honestly really excited for. I don't think there was so much hype about this game. I didn't hear so many people talking about it, but Brest, a team that have started off impeccably in this Champions League phase so far, and Bayer Leverkusen, we know, are the hottest team, the hot commodity right now in the Champions League in the world. And you would expect Bayer Leverkusen to go to Brest and to easily control the game, to easily get a result, and it shouldn't be a problem for a team like Bayer Leverkusen, for Xabi Alonso's men, given all the quality that they have in all lines of the field. But that really wasn't the case. Brest are a well-organized team. A little backstory on them: Eric Roy, the guy, their head coach, the man that has completely transformed this Brest team, he hasn't coached in over a decade. His last team was Nice back in 2010, 2011. And he comes back to this Brest team in January of 2023. So last year, he comes back, he takes over, he takes his team to third place, a team that was struggling for relegation. He takes this team, he gets them to third place, to Champions League spots for the first time in history. They're playing European nights, and now they have three. They haven't lost in 3 games. They haven't lost in 3 games, and to do it against a team like Bayer Leverkusen, because I think their first game was against Stade. I don't even know. They won like 2-0, 3-0. And then the recent game was against Salzburg, 4-0, thrashing Salzburg away in Austria. Salzburg, to be fair, haven't been impressive. They actually lost on the day against Dinamo Zagreb. But you have to you have to play who you have in front of you, and you have to get results against teams like these. Brest got a 4-0 result then, and now you get a result against Bayer Leverkusen, given that it's at your own home, but a team like Bayer Leverkusen to draw 1-1, and then eventually, I mean, they looked like the better team, 100%, especially that second half. Brest were dangerous. They probably could have come out with the win, but it was just unfortunate. Just luck didn't really swing their way. But like I said, this team, they were fighting relegation just a couple seasons ago. And then they finished in third under PSG, under Monaco, and now, I mean, now they're getting results against teams like Bayer Leverkusen. They're sitting comfortably, I think, in the top 8. Let me just double check that real quick. They are in 5th place right now. They haven't lost so far. They are unbeaten in the Champions League, and I mean, it's just, I mean, what else can I say? Yeah, Florian Wirtz, magic from him. Obviously, in this first half, he was everywhere. I mean, maybe he could even won the game for Bayer Leverkusen in the second half. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the goal that he did score that put Bayer Leverkusen up, but it was just the Brest show. Sorry, that maybe I shouldn't have said that, but it was quite a show from Brest. After that first goal, they woke up. The fans were alive. It was electric. Just a few minutes before the half, um, they get the equalizer. The wonder story continued. It was a goal by Pierre Le Melou. He hits it perfectly off the volley, following a floating cross that was a little deflected, a little lucky from Mari Kamara. It falls perfectly into Le Melou, and he sends the crowd into a frenzy. I mean, the volley was perfect. It was hit masterfully. 1-1, and that's how the game ends. But I think the biggest winner in this game is definitely Brest because, like I said, they haven't lost so far. So good for Brest. Beautiful wonder story. And now the biggest match of the day as well, Barcelona versus Bayern Munich. We already know the history between these two, a quite dark history if you're a Barca fan. And I think it's been 5 matches since Barcelona have not. I think it's been more than 5 matches since Barcelona have not been able to get a result against the German giants. And in this game, we saw Barcelona run riot. They did whatever they want with Bayern Munich. They finally get their revenge in a 4-1 win, consistent 4-1 win. And I mean, I don't really know where to start. Firstly, Barcelona, like they just won at the weekend against Sevilla 5-1. They're beat. It's not even a matter of if they're going to beat teams, but it's by how many. They're dangerous in front of goal. The high line that they play is not a joke. They're very good, very ordered defensively. Even though in this game they looked a little scrappy, but it's given you're playing a team like Bayern Munich, they're a difficult team to play against. Barcelona in this team, they started off with a very young squad, the youngest Barcelona team to take the Champions League in 14 years. And Barcelona looking for revenge. They got it. Finally, a team that is kind of they had mentally wiped away all the problems of the past, all the 4-0s, 3-0s, 8-2s. I don't think any of the players that suffered that result are in this current squad. So it's good. It's just a completely revamped team, firstly, from Barcelona perspective. Bayern Munich, there was a moment there was moments where they could have gotten back into the game where they looked better than Barcelona, but I think tactically Barcelona were sound, and it wasn't until like that the end of the first half and then all the second half when Barcelona really found their feet. And I mean, what more can I say? But the biggest talking point of this match, a guy like Rafinha, everybody counted him out. Everybody, I mean, after this recent season, Rafinha was already out of Barcelona. He was making a move to Saudi Arabia. There was those whispers, those rumors that he was going to Saudi Arabia, that Barcelona was going to pay that big money for Nico Williams. That never happened. And even Rafinha in his press conference, he mentioned that. So I think that gave him a little bit of motivation, a little bit of fire in his heart, in his soul to play the way that he is, and to put the start that he's had with this Barcelona team. I mean, from kind of a joke to now the captain of this club, and to get not only his first Champions League goals, but now he has like 6 goals, 7 goals now with his hat trick in the Champions League. So, I mean, I don't even know what to say about Rafinha. I mean, mentality, he has the mentality of a monster, honestly. For people to be kicking you out of the club, to be completely disrespecting you, and now I mean, not only have you won your position, but you are the captain of the club. You are showing everybody why you deserve to be there, why you have to be there, and that we're not going to tolerate no Rafinha disrespect on this podcast, on in this club, in this city, in Catalonia. Barcelona is back. Rafinha, I mean, he's one of the reasons why Barcelona is back. His mentality is just completely also changed with it himself, changed the club for sure. And then from a Bayern Munich perspective, Bayern Munich defensively sloppy. We already know that Kim and Upamecano, they are very questionable defenders. Upamecano is very much prone to a mistake. Kim, not the fastest in recovery as well. And we saw positionally, he's quite weak, and that's exactly what happened in some of the goals for Barcelona. Barcelona get the revenge. They get a much needed win because, I mean, it would have been very difficult to suffer a loss against Bayern Munich mentally ahead of El Clásico as well. Atletico Madrid versus Lille. Lille go to Madrid once again and not only get a result, but a very strong result in that a 3-1 win against Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid, who started off strong, Julian Alvarez taking advantage of a mistake from the Lille defenders. I mean, after that, there really wasn't no there wasn't nothing from Atleti besides a few missed chances from Sorloth, where I'm sure now looking back at it, he's probably going to be real upset. I know that drive back to the hotel or to his house or wherever, he's going to be thinking about those. He's going to be having nightmares about those misses because those would have been the difference makers in this match. But I think the biggest problem I have with this match is that penalty call for Lille. Though I think it was the 2-1. It wasn't necessarily the 1-1. The 1-1 was something from a different game. He puts in a beautiful curler past Oblak, a little help from Chema Jimenez with a little deflection. But I think that second goal that put Lille in front of Atleti was the difference maker because I didn't see anything. And maybe I have to look back at it a few more times, but I don't even know what the ref saw. The ref didn't even go to VAR. Typically what we've been seeing at least consistently so far in the Champions League is the refs will take a look at it themselves before they make any decisions. I don't know why the referee did not go to make a decision himself, to look at it himself at least to see if there was a foul or handball, whatever it was, because I don't even know what it was. And I think Koke and Atleti were definitely hard done, and it was a controversial penalty call. But regardless, if you're Jonathan David, if you're Lille, you don't give a fuck. You want to win the game. You want to beat Atleti. You want people to know that I'm right here. And the Canadian, he steps up. He was the one that scored the winner, the penalty kick winner against Madrid, and now he is the one that steps up and gets the second goal that was the potential winner for Lille. And then, I mean, in the final minutes of the game, Jonathan David gets his brace. So not only does he get that penalty goal, the second goal, but he also gets the third goal to make sure that Atleti do not come back in their own home. And Lille are probably the biggest surprise, along with Brest. I mean, Farmers League, who? Come on, like, you got to put some respect on these teams. And I think the French teams, especially, have been stepping up their game. Lille, Brest, probably the biggest examples of that. And yeah, Atletico Madrid, I mean, step up your game, guys. Like, you and Sorloth and Griezmann, you guys got to be taking advantage of the opportunities that you have in front of goal, because in the Champions League, you cannot let go of any opportunities. You have to put these teams away. If not, these are the best teams in Europe. They will punish you. And yeah, unfortunately, Atletico drop points. Lille looking perfect. Let me tell you right now what position they are in. 15th place. So they're not necessarily top 8. They're in contention for the knockout round, which is fine for if you're Lille. I mean, I'm pretty sure maybe you weren't even expecting to be there if you're a Lille fan. But going to Leipzig versus Liverpool. Liverpool get a win. Not really much going on there besides Darwin Nunez getting on the score sheet. I think it was a goal that honestly was already would have gone in regardless. Mohamed Salah gets on the end of a nice cross. He heads it to the other side of the corner where the goalkeeper just really couldn't reach it. But Darwin Nunez just taps it in just in case if it was going to hit the post or if a defender was going to come out of nowhere. Darwin Nunez taps it in, typical striker goal. And it was an active first half. I think the biggest takeaway from this Liverpool match is that Darwin Nunez looks like he's kind of back. I mean, I know he didn't perform necessarily bad last season, but we know that he can be extremely inconsistent. But so far. He gets his goal. It's going to be very good for his confidence, given that Jota might be injured. I don't know for how long, but I know he's definitely injured. So I think this could definitely help Nunez's confidence and form. Now, one of the bigger thumpings of this Champions League weekday 3 is Man City versus Sparta Prague. I think Man City won like 4-0, 5-0. I think the biggest talking point here is Erling Haaland, who, I mean, this is his competition. I mean, right now it is Ronaldo's technically because of the record, but Haaland I don't even know how old he is, 24 maybe. At 24 years old, he has his 44th goal in 42 games in the Champions League. He gets a brace against Sparta Prague. They just completely annihilate Sparta Prague off the field. Erling Haaland is now tied with Didier Drogba in goals and 81 less appearances than Drogba. So he's putting up legendary striker numbers in less appearances, less minutes, less everything, and at a younger age is just insane. And then the best goal, obviously, I think the goal so far of these 2 match days are definitely that the acrobatic finish that he had for his first goal. I mean, bro, what an incredible piece of play. Gave me like Zlatan Ibrahimovic flashbacks, but also that's an Erling Haaland type of strike. I mean, given that he's a freak of nature, he's so tall but very agile, and he can get up. I mean, the way he got up, the way he backheels it, wasn't even looking at the goal. I mean, if you guys haven't watched that goal, please go watch it. I beg you, because that was just insane. And then Mateus Nunes gets the fifth goal and just cements everything for Man City. Another big result was Benfica dropping points to Feyenoord. Feyenoord, they cooked in this match. They cooked a Benfica team who at the Stadio de Luz, they are a very difficult opposition to play against. Benfica, we already know they're a strong opponent. They have quality players, and especially in Portugal, they're very difficult to beat. I don't think they've lost in over or almost a year in Portugal. And in that first half, Feyenoord just ran rampant. They did whatever they wanted with Benfica. I don't think Benfica were expecting a Feyenoord team to play the way they did. They scored 3 goals in that first half. They were physical. They were sharp. Feyenoord, just a complete team. They just did a complete 180 from what we've seen, especially against that game against Bayer Leverkusen. And I think one of the biggest helpers, one of the biggest key instruments in this match was their striker. And no, I'm not talking about Santiago Jimenez, who's out injured, but the Japanese international Ayase Ueda, who's been alive for Feyenoord. He got 2 goals in this one. One of them was offside, but I mean, he was just all over for Feyenoord, and he was the one that got the first goal to spark this brilliant game for Feyenoord. Going into the second half, Benfica did get a goal back, but it was really there was nothing there after that. I mean, they kind of died down. Feyenoord, they held on, and then they get that third goal before the end of the game, and they win for the second time in the row. I believe they also got a result against Girona. So good for Feyenoord. I think they have potentially one of the more difficult league draws for sure. They have very difficult opponents to come against, and playing against Bayer Leverkusen in the first match definitely wasn't an easy feat, especially getting thumped the way that they did. But here they take advantage of playing away at Benfica, which, like I said, is a very difficult place to play in, and they get a 3-1 win. And I mean, it's danger for Benfica, but for Feyenoord, they're looking good. And Santiago Jimenez, when you get back from injury, you got to step your game up, because this Ayase Ueda, the Japanese international, he's sniffing, he's smelling blood, and he's gonna be starting to bite and bark for that spot, for that starting spot. So Santiago Jimenez, you better come back well, because for the Mexican national team, we need you, and we need you to be getting minutes and be playing. But that kind of wraps up everything in the UEFA Champions League in match day 3. Let me know what your guys' favorite game was. I'll probably say the Barcelona versus Bayern Munich, given that there's a little bit of bias there, and Barcelona finally get a win after years. I was waiting years for this, guys. You have no idea. But that was my favorite game. On a neutral perspective, probably also I would say the Real Madrid Dortmund game, because that game was just nuts, just goals galore. If you haven't seen that game, make sure you check out the highlights. Make sure you guys check out the channel, subscribe, like. Make sure you look at all our links down below. Not Tomas today, unfortunately, he is working, but Thank you guys for supporting. Support your small creators because together we're gonna make it big. I will see you guys on the next one for more UEFA Champions League content, for Liga MX content, for whatever we need and whatever you guys want in the world of football. I am here for you guys. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.